tumakas ka, nung hinuhuli ka, yan ang record mo. Ang laki ng tiwala sa iyo ng Pangulong Duterte. Hindi ba tumalikod ka sa tiwala sa iyo ni President Duterte na papalayain mo itong mga drug pushers na ito? Papadala mo sa immigration, ikaw ang pumirma? Kahit nasabihin mo pang nangungusulto ka, the buck stops with you.
Yes, Your Honor. I would appreciate if I would have a discretion to not follow the rules. But as we look at the data, sir, since 2004 up to 2016,
Ako, wala siyang remorse eh. In fact, sinasabi niya hanggang ngayon, hindi siya. Sinasabi niya yung si Kit Alqueza. Tinignan mo ba kung nagbayad na siya ng civil damages sa mga magulang, sa mga pamilya nitong napatay niya, at saka yung court cost, tinignan mo ba yun? Pag tinignan mo lahat siya, at sasabihin mo, hindi all yan eh, nasa batas yan eh. Then, tau-tauhan ka dyan. Di ba? Wala kang discretion, wala kang man lang sabihin na napakadelikado na situation na hindi lang para sa iyo, but sa susunod pa, Director ng Bureau of Prisons, kayo lang ang magdi-decide. Lalampasan nyo yung sinabi ng husgado, lalampasan nyo yung Bureau of Pardons and Parole, lalampasan nyo under the Constitution, Presidente lang ang pwede magbigay ng parole, magpatawad, pero ikaw ngayon, ang tanging tao lamang na magpapalaya, magpuputol ng sentensya. Dapat nag-iingat ka. Tama ba yun?
yes, Your Honor. The discretion was removed by this manual, Your Honor.
That manual is man-made by a commission that you created or by the DILG and DOJ, correct? And by the way, Mr. Orseo, you are undersecretary. Wala sa batas yung sinasabi mo. Nasa manual yon. Ano? Saan?
Actually, it's in section 97 of the Revised Penal Code, but which was amended by section 3 of RA
Sabi mo sa akin.
592.
Dito yung batas. Mapakita natin dyan. By the way, Senator Subiri is also here. Basahin mo.
Yes, but I have these annexes here.
Manual yung binabasa mo. Nandun sa manual pero wala
It's
sa
in the
batas yan.
annexes. It's in the annexes, Your Honor. It's part of the annexes
Annexes?
of this manual. The law is part of this annexes, Your Honor.
Saan? It only speaks of he shall be allowed a deduction of 30 days during the 11 successive years for each month of good behavior during detention.
Yes, sir.
But that doesn't mean that you're giving him 1 month lang yung kanyang titignan. Ang layo nun. Ito for computing lang the deduction. Pero 1 month para sabihin mo, pwede ka na?
Your Honor, when the committee decided on whether to give the full credit of, say, 30 days, we debated on whether to give that PDL a full credit for each violation or nothing at all.
And look at where we are now because you gave full credit. Look at where we are now. There is now ang laki-laking lamat ng batas ngayon sa atin. Kawawa yung mga taong pinatay, yung mga pamilya nila. Did you ever consider that for one moment?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did.
Yes.
And you were willing to sacrifice na nahihirapan na yung mga tao.
We don't have any discretion to interpret the law otherwise because the law said 30 days per month.
Can you read the law first? May pareho naman tayo nag-aral, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh. During the 11th and successive years of his imprisonment, he shall be allowed a deduction of 30 days for each month of good behavior during the indictment. Sinasabi lang yun, dinideduct mo 30 days of good behavior.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pero pagpapalabasin mo, kailangan tignan mo yung buong taon.
Yes,
Lahat
Your
ng
Honor.
kanyang
Yes,
pinagsilbihan.
yes, Your Honor.
And by the way,
That's
can you put out the rules ang sinagay dyan sa manual? Rules niyo yan. Nakalagay dyan, hindi naka-uniforme. Pakita niyo yung litrato ni Sanchez na nakakulong, walang uniforme. Violation yan. Pakita niyo yun, nahuli sa may TV. Violation yan. Paano yan magiging good conduct? Preso kabalyero ang tawag dyan. Di ba totoo, Mr. Secretary of Justice, public knowledge yan. Pag pumasok ka, Mr. Peldon, pag pumasok ka, may mga naka-cellphone doon. Ano ang bayad dyan sa mga cellphone na yan? Ilan beses na ako pumasok yan, nakikita. Paano may cellphone ang mga tao rito? Nakakapag-concert. Kung ano lahat ang mga kumul nila. Ay ano, tingnan nyo, ilan ang pilo doon sa kama? Tatlo. Apat ba? Apat. O, tingnan nyo, mayroong aparador yan. Buksan mo yan sa aparador. Andun lahat ang damit. Wala akong nakikita uniforme na kulay tangerine. Ba't pinapayagan nyo yan? Tapos papayagan nyo ng good conduct? Yan ba yung good conduct na tinatawag nyo?
That is the reason sir, we stopped his release to review the granting of GCTA, sir.
You stop his release because sumabog na. Sumabog na sa tao, galit na galit ang tao. Editorialize ang mga dyaryo, hindi na kayo kaliwat kanan, which is very unfair because of the implementation of the law. That's where he got killed, right? So implementation. Anyway, I will let Senator Dillon do the one. You know, there is a bad habit here. The Senate President thinks he's the king of the road. Minority Floor Leader, anyway.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for calling me first. I was the first to arrive. Mr. Chairman.
Called age before beauty.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, before I ask a few questions, let me first welcome Mrs. Maria Clara Sarmienta and her husband, Roberto, and Mrs. Iluminada Gomez. The last time we saw each other was in March of 1995 when we attended the promulgation of the decision of then RTC Judge Harriet Demetrio, where the then Mayor Sanchez was sentenced to 7 life terms. And at that time, we felt that justice was rendered. And today, after 25 years, or 24 years to be exact, we meet again hoping that an injustice is not committed because of the erroneous and malevolent recomputation of this good conduct time allowance. Mr. Chairman, we are here today in exercise of our oversight functions in order to review the implementation of Republic Act 10592 or the good conduct time allowance. And the first question that I will raise, Mr. Chairman, is Republic Act 10575, which is the Bureau of Corrections Act of 2015. Is it correct to say that under Section 8 of this law, the Secretary or the Department of Justice shall retain authority over the power to review, reverse, revise, or modify the decisions of the Bucor in the exercise of its regulatory and quasi-judicial functions. Is that a correct recollection of the law? Yes, Secretary Guevara.
That is exactly what that provision states, Mr. Senator.
So that you retain your right under the law expressly to review, reverse, modify, revise the decisions of the Bucor Director.
Only for regulatory and quasi-judicial functions performed by the Bucor. Otherwise, the DOJ exercises general administrative supervision.
And in the allowance for good time time allowance for good conduct, that is in exercise of quasi-judicial functions because you apply the facts to the law.
That is debatable, Senator Dillon. I am not ready to concede that the grant of GCTA is a quasi-judicial function.
All right, that is okay. We can debate on that later. But because of the Bureau of Corrections Act of 2013, do you recall Department Order 953? 953 issued by your dated November 26, 2015?
We stumbled upon that department order when we were carefully reviewing the meaning of the GCTA law.
Okay.
Mr. Drilon. Senator
So,
Drilon.
and if for the record, the release of all national prisoners with expired sentence shall be approved only by the Director General of the Bureau of Corrections. At least that's what the first paragraph says. Is that correct?
Exactly, Senator
But
Drilon.
in the second paragraph, and let me read it for emphasis, the authority of the Director General of the Bureau of Corrections to release national prisoners shall not apply to prisoners inmates sentenced to life imprisonment or reclusion perpetua or high-risk inmates whose release due to expired sentences shall only be implemented upon the prior approval of the Secretary of Justice. Do you recall that? Is that a correct reflection of paragraph 2?
That is exactly the provision of paragraph 2 of Department Order number 953 issued on November 2015.
In other words, in so far as life-termers are concerned, including Mayor Antonio Sanchez, including those convicted of the murder of the Chong sisters, under this department order.
Unless this Department Order number 953 has been modified or recalled or revoked, that seems to be the prevailing rule.
Yes. That is in fact provided clearly under paragraph 2 of the department order.
Yes, Senator.
Now, question. In the case of Mayor Antonio Sanchez, was your approval sought?
No such request has been received by the Department of Justice.
In all the releases under the 1,914 releases done in cases of convicts with who avail of the good conduct time allowance, was the approval of the Secretary of Justice ever secured, at least during your time?
Since I assumed the position of SOJ in April of last year, I recall having only a few.
I'm sorry?
Only a few requests for approval for the release of certain PDLs, but this is not in connection with good conduct time allowance, but in connection with what the Bucor calls STAL. STAL is Special Time Allowance for Loyalty. And that is given on the occasion, for example, of a catastrophe or something like a fire or a typhoon, where the inmates had the opportunity to escape, but they did not escape, or having fled, let's say, the jail or the prison because of the conditions, they returned within 48 hours. They would be entitled to such special time allowance for loyalty. And I remember on 2 occasions, we received a request for approval in connection with the Leyte Regional Prison for 2 special incidents. One is on account of Typhoon Yolanda, and another on the occasion of a fire which happened in the prison, in the regional prison in Leyte. Other than those 2 major requests for approval, I would not remember any other request for approval in the case of persons specifically convicted of heinous crimes.
Yes. So that you do not recall approving any request for release pursuant to the good conduct time allowance law, specifically in the case of those who were convicted of heinous crimes, and other than those 2 or 3 that you mentioned. Is that correct, sir?
I would not be able to say categorically, but generally speaking, if there were such submissions to the DOJ, I would certainly remember them.
Yeah, so you do not remember them.
As far as I could not recall any other.
There were, from our computation, since July 1, 2016, if there were 1,914 releases for heinous crimes prior to 2016, 1,469 were released since June of 2016 or July 1 of 2016 on the basis of the data presented by the committee. In any case, now, you are under Republic Act 10575, which is the Bureau of Corrections Act of 2013. The Bureau is supposed to submit a certification of the accuracy of the computation. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct, Senator Drilon.
To your recollection, did the Bureau of Correction ever submit a certification as to the accuracy of the computation?
With respect to the few incidents where request for approval of the SOJ was made in connection with the prospective release of certain PDLs, there was an attached certification by the Bureau, by the Bucor chief, stating that the computation was properly done.
But other than
GCTA.
that, did you
Pardon?
receive any certification?
It is that certification is part of the submissions to the DOJ.
Right.
So,
But
it's
only in
attached.
in those few instances.
Yes, that's
Because-
true because that's part of the requirement, Senator.
Because in the rest, they never sought your authorization.
I don't remember any other major submissions involving persons convicted of heinous crimes.
Yes, an ordinary layman would say, no, I didn't receive that. A lawyer will say, I do not recall. In any case, that's very lawyerly of you, Mr. Secretary. All right. I read in the papers, Mr. Faildon, that your spokesman said Mayor Antonio Sanchez is credited with 49 years of service of his life imprisonment. Do you confirm that? 49 years.
That is including time served, and that is based on the records of the Bureau,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes. Now, did you credit imprisonment or detention as a detention prisoner of for Mayor Sanchez? He was detained from 1993 up to the time of his final conviction in 1999. That's a total of about 9 years. Under the law, since he was charged with a serious heinous crime, under the law, you are not supposed to credit those years. You are not supposed to credit those 9 years. In your computation, however, of 49 years, we noticed that you included every day of detention. Is that correct?
That is how they computed it, sir. I can only compute during the time I am the Director General, Your Honor.
Under the law, those charged with heinous crimes are not entitled to credit of their preventive imprisonment. Is that correct?
I agree with you, Your
Yes,
Honor.
that's the law. But in the case of Sanchez, you credited him with these 6 years in order to arrive at 49 years. Is that correct?
The previous Director Generals during those years were the ones who credited that because
Sorry?
those computations were done during the years of, I have just assumed few months, sir, so I cannot grant GCTA during the times I was at, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 minute to wrap up.
Sorry?
According to Senator Lacson and Senator Subiri, 1 minute to wrap up.
No, my majority leader said she's conceding his time to me. Oh, he agrees.
2 more minutes, 2 more minutes.
Anyway, just a few points.
But-
Mr. Gordon, it will not take me 1 hour. When you said the previous administration, who were you referring to?
No, sir, since the granting of the GCTA is on a monthly basis,
Sorry?
the granting of GCTA is on a monthly basis, so I could not grant him GCTA during those years that I wasn't
So
the
you
Director
said it was
General, Your
granted
Honor.
by the previous administration.
no, the previous Director Generals.
Who is
So
the previous Director General?
I would like to, from 1993 to 2000,
And anyway,
so I will recall the names, Your Honor.
Because of that, you have 30
that's a
seconds more.
factual, anyway, we're just putting that on the record now. Mr. Feldon, do you have the carpeta of Mayor Sanchez?
Yes,
The
Your Honor.
carpeta for information is the file. Can you submit that?
Yes, Your Honor.
We will examine that for purposes of tomorrow's hearing. Now, the manual the uniform manual for CGTA or Good Conduct Time Allowance and Service Sentences, specifically under Section 3, enumerates, or Section 4, I think, yeah, Section 3 enumerates about 45 instances when no credit can be granted. Do you confirm that?
Yes, Your Honor, on 49,
And
Your
in
Honor.
this particular case, you're saying that Mayor Sanchez did not violate any of the 45 because he was entitled to full credit.
Personally, sir, I believe he has violated a lot of this, Your Honor.
Sorry?
Personally, sir, I believe he has violated a lot of these provisions, Your Honor.
He has violated, but is that violation reflected in the carpeta?
I cannot confirm or deny, Your Honor.
Where is the, can we have can you submit the folder?
Can you bring the carpeta of Mr. Sanchez? Is it here? I ask you to bring the carpeta. Ms. Marquez, do you have it? Ayan pala.
All right, we will review this. Can we submit this to the committee and we can review?
Definitely, yes.
For
Sabi
tomorrow.
ni Ping, what's
Yes.
tomorrow?
Now,
Can we wrap up because...
just one more question and we will wrap up. I think less than 1 hour coming. There is also a Management Screening and Evaluation Committee, or MESEC. MESEC. And this is supposed to make the recommendation. Was a recommendation done in the case of Mayor Antonio Sanchez?
Every PDL recommended for release, recommendation for release, or the report of MSEC, the Management Screening and Evaluation Committee, is always attached to
All right,
the
is
papers,
that,
Your
is that already, can you submit that to us?
We will comply, Your Honor.
Can you submit all the records that we ask right away so we don't have to be asking that of you?
Yeah,
Bigyan
yes,
na sa Blue Ribbon at saka sa Justice. Thank you.
Now, so the minutes, there are minutes of the meeting there.
Yes, Your Honor. That's
Kailan ang ginawa itong minutes na ito? Noong bago lang o dati lang?
the MSEC, sir, is supposed to convene every month because the granting of GCTA is
And
monthly,
under
sir.
oath, you're stating that it was done every month in the case of Mayor Antonio Sanchez.
I cannot ascertain that, Your Honor.
It possible it was done only 2 weeks ago when all this controversy took place? You do not know when the minutes were done?
I will find out, sir.
Yeah, anyway, can you submit these minutes to us?
Chair admonishes gently the Bureau of Corrections Director to be very forthright. Answer the question. Don't try to be evasive. Because that's being evasive, confirm or deny. You ought to know your own office.
All right.
Yeah.
We suspend our interpolate our
1 second,
questions to allow Senator Lacson to.
Yes.
But we can drive.
Senator Lacson is recognized. Thank you, Senator Dillon, for those prescient questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank the Senate President for giving me his time. I'll be very direct to the point, and I will show on the screen first. Now, I'll show on the screen several signatures, which I would like Director General Paeldon to identify one by one. First, please. Wala ba dun sa kabila? Is this your signature?
Appears to be, Your Honor.
Okay. Second, please. Is that your signature?
Appears to be, Your Honor.
Third, is that your signature?
Appears to be, Your Honor.
Fourth, is that your signature?
Appears to be, Your Honor.
Fifth, is this your signature?
Appears to be, Your Honor.
Sixth, is that your signature?
No, Your Honor.
Then who signed for your name? Because under the signature is your name, Yusek Nicanor Feldon. Who signed for you in this case?
There are duty generals in the
No,
Bureau.
who signed for you if you know?
There are 3 duty generals rotating to
Who are they?
Chief Technical Superintendent Marife Marquez.
Now, may I ask Chief Superintendent Marquez, is that your signature, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
Next. How about this? Is that also your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's show the number 1 signature, please, again. And then the content. This is a release order of Antonio Sanchez, which you signed. And earlier, you mentioned that you never signed a release order for Antonio Sanchez. What can you say about this?
A signature I sign, Your Honor, is a memorandum for release. Release order, sir, is only the superintendent can issue the release order.
I will read to you, no? Subject, release of person deprived of liberty. Sanchez Antonio E. Leiza, N95P-0481, for having served 40 years upon retroactive application of RA number 10592, pursuant to the provisions of Article 70 of the Revised Penal Code. Date, August 20, 2019.
I sign a memorandum of
This
release.
is a memorandum. This is not a release order, sir.
Yes, sir. I sign a memorandum of release starting the process of the release of any PDL, Your Honor.
So you're maintaining that this is not a release order.
Yes, sir. And that...
But the subject is release of person deprived of liberty or PDL. So this is not a release order.
Because that order, sir, was recalled by me.
But you signed the release order. That's my question.
Excuse me, did you say you recalled it?
No, we stopped the process of the
No, you
release.
just said that order was recalled by me. That means that you signed it already.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I signed that document, the memorandum of release. But that is not the release order because after my office, it goes to several other office. And finally, it will go to the superintendent who issues the final release order of who was the PDL.
But you are the
along
last-
that process, Your Honor, I stopped it because I need to review again the GCTA granted to him. That is after the strong objection of the legal officer that I cannot stop the release of all those PDLs.
Yeah. Well, I'll read to you paragraph 4 of this release order. If you still maintain that this is not a release order that you signed, paragraph 4, it says here, submit report of compliance to the Office of the Director General of the Bureau of Corrections within 5 days from the actual date of release. Copy furnished the Chief Documents section. This is not a release order still?
Sir, as I've said, there has never been a release order because I recalled it, the process was never completed.
Okay. I will not debate it. I will not debate with you anymore. Anyway, the documents won't lie, and you admitted already that that is your signature.
Yes, Your Honor.
So there's no point debating on
That is
debating
my
whether-
signature, that appears to be a document I signed, but the process of
Okay.
the release was never
Okay,
completed.
that's fine.
Your Honor.
Now, have you ordered the release of the accused or the convicts in the Chong sisters rape slaying case? Namely, Asnar, Balansag, Canyo, Alberto Canyo alias Alan Pahak, Ariel, is this Balansag or Josman Asnar? Three of them.
I cannot remember ordering release of, because I do not really distinguish what cases these PDLs
Well,
have
I'll show you
committed.
the release orders. Signed for by Maria Fe Marquez. This is the release order issued in favor of the convicts in the case of the Chong sisters rape slaying sa Cebu. Yeah. This is a celebrated case, The same thing. This is a memorandum, Paragraph number 4, again. Submit report of compliance to the Office of the Director General of the Bureau of Corrections within 5 days from the actual date of release. Copy furnished the Chief Document Section. Date, August 16, 2019. Question, have they been released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, di pareho rin. Yung unang release order kay Sanchez na preempt lang because of the public uproar. But in this case, this one got away because this was dated 4 days before the supposed or the release order signed by you in favor of Antonio Sanchez. So what makes the difference between the release order signed for you by Maria Fe Marquez and the release order signed by you in favor of Antonio Sanchez? The other one, of course, Antonio Sanchez, as we all know by now, has not been released because of the outcry. But in the case of the Chong sisters, and they're crying for justice, we saw them on TV. And the case of the Chong sisters, is as gruesome as the case of of Eileen Sarmenta and Alan Gomez. So anyway, I would just like for the record to point that out, Mr. Chairman. Now we go to same question. Under the law, you are the only one authorized under the law. I think this is Article 98, Article 99 as amended by Section 5 of GCTA of 10592. Who grants time allowances? Ito yung Section 5 na amending Article 99. Because sa Article 99, kayo lang po yung authorized. Pero in-expand dito, isinama yung Chief of the BJMP. Why? Because siguro sa batas, sinasama yung good conduct time allowance sa preventive imprisonment. So siguro kaya in-expand yung authorized to sign or to grant good conduct time allowance, sinama yung BJMP and even the provincial wardens na kasama. The revised penal code and the amend o 5 siguro busy, medyo may idea kayo, no? How much, in your estimate, how much would government spend to build up intelligence, to gather evidence, arrest, prosecute, and convict sa isang drug trafficker mo? More or less. Say Chinese drug lord, medyo high profile, medyo high level. Magkano po ang gagastusin ng gobyerno?
Your Honor, it will run into billions.
Yeah.
But we cannot get figures since it's intelligence funds. It is confined with the operators and intelligence officers. But one thing is certain, our assessment is like 70 and 80% inside the Jubilee bid. Doon nag-emanate yung full-time illegal drugs distribution.
Thank you. And based on my own experience, I share your opinion. We spend millions of pesos even for one drug trafficker. Hanggang sa all the way to conviction, hanggang sa Supreme Court. Talaga may gastos yan because we have to spend for the lawyers. Sometimes we still have to enlist private lawyers para mas masigurado makonvict. Next. Ano status ng case ni Chen Chang E. Tiz? Ano ito? Taiwanese drug lord po ito. Date of birth, 10 June 1954, Taiwanese national. Well, I'll answer my question. No? He was supposed to have been turned over to the Bureau of Immigration because he was released last April 16, 2019. And he was turned over to the Bureau of Immigration on April 8 because he was released on April 3 from the Davao Penal Colony. Ang nag-issue ng kanyang release order is Sir Belencio Dino, who is the Chief Superintendent of the Regional Superintendent. Is he here? Halika nga, pakita nyo nga. Under whose authority did you order the release of baka pwedeng under oath, Mr. Chairman.
Where is he? Is he here? Can you stand up? Secretary, please administer the oath.
Sir, please raise your right hand.
What's your name?
State your name.
Go to the microphone, please.
Ay, hindi po. Dito po. Dito po sa harap.
Usarap,
Dito sa
usarap.
table na lang po makigamit.
Ayan.
Ang pangalan niyo po?
Senior Superintendent Melencio S. Faustino of the Bureau of Corrections.